Hey y'all, it's me again. I just got done posting another video, pre-move jitters. So if you haven't seen it, there you go. Go ahead and watch it. You can get an idea of what's been going on with me lately. Um, so I just watched this movie the other night on what was it on? It's on one of these streaming channels. It was Netflix. Alex Strangelove. And basically, senior in high school, has this girlfriend. He's class president, really popular. Met this out gay guy at a party that he went with his girlfriend to, and he ends up falling in love with that guy. And yeah, it's this whole thing. And in the end, he and she, the two of them, go online like I'm doing now, and they post his coming out story. And then they show parts of other people's coming out stories. And it occurred to me that though I may have told several people in person, I have actually not announced on my page my coming out story. This is a couple decades ago, but at least, it's there. So this was 1995, 1996, that year, or, my senior year. And I had actually really realized when I was 11, so that was well before that. 7 years prior. So I realized when I was visiting a cousin in California, and it doesn't have any incestuous thing about that, so don't even go there. Basically, he brought home this movie that he rented, Ghostest with the Mostest, and it had some scene where this blonde buff guy was, exploring himself while waiting for his girlfriend to get ready for them to have sex. And of course, my cousin's like, "There you go, Tom." And so I think it was kind of obvious to a lot of people, even before that I was gay. Looking back on it, it's really funny. I think my mom definitely knew. She's been gone since I was 13. But if you look at like everything that happened, growing up, like, I have a lot of siblings. I mean, a lot. But it was always three of us together. It was me, my brother Joe, and my brother Sam. And I'm like right in the middle there, right? But there's like all these other kids outside that. But it was just the three of us growing up. Anyway, so whenever we would get gifts, like, my dad would go out of his way to buy us things like He-Man and Transformers and G.I. Joe and Thundercats and things like that, really manly men toys. And my mom, she would go along with that. Like, she would buy Joe He-Man, she would buy Sam Skeletor, I'd get Tila. Or she would buy us Smurfs. Like, Joe would get Hefty Smurf, or Sam would get Papa Smurf, and I'd get Smurfette. We would get Snorks. Sam would get All-Star. Joe would get, I don't know, that orange guy that nobody could stand. And I'd get the girl, Casey, the pink girl. So, yeah, there's a strong feeling that my mom knew. Plus, when I was like 7, she gave me these dolls with the real hair that stuck out the side that you can just pop on and off their clothes. I don't remember what they were called, but I did things like that. I would get Care Bears, I would get Popples, Cabbage Patch Kids, all kinds of things. Whenever she would buy me a G.I. Joe, like, I would get the girl G.I. Joe, like, I'd get Jinx, and I get Zatara, and CoverGirl, and Lady J, and all those. When I got Thundercats, I would get Cheetara, So, I mean, that was really, really obvious that my mom knew, and it was okay. She would also get me the guy ones too when I would run out of girl ones to get. But, I would get things like, Get Along Gang and other things. It was the 80s. I mean, there was a lot of masculinity, but there was a lot of femininity. I mean, a lot. I mean, you go back and watch some of our cartoons, and you'll get a really good idea about how comfortable so many people were, or completely ignorant about how everything was so blatantly gay. I mean, looking at He-Man's outfit, I mean, he went from being in a pink, white, and purple outfit to pulling out his magic sword, and next thing you know, full-on bondage gear. We got the harness, we got the leather, we got the little loincloth, and the boots, and that's all he would... Oh, and an instant tan. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but abundantly gay. So many things that are gay about those cartoons, but, we all loved them. And for some reason, it didn't... Of course, when you're younger, you don't think about these things, because you're like, oh, I'm just having fun. I'm playing with these toys, and I have friends who are boys, and I have friends who are girls, and I know that when I'm playing with this kind of toy, I'll play with him or I'll play with her. And, I would do the Barbie fashion shows. I would take my sister's Barbies, and I'd do the, the run walk and the runway, whatever, because, I guess I'm not as gay as that. But anyway, so I would do the little Barbie fashion shows, and I'd get in trouble from my dad, but everyone else thought it was okay. It was just me being me. Anyway, so fast forward years and years and years. Angsty teenager. Mom died when I was 13. Dad's abusive. Siblings weren't all that supportive. A lot of them would beat me up. A lot of kids at school and around town would beat me up because I was an easy target. I think because they all kind of figured out what was going on before I was willing to admit it. And we are also in the middle of podunk nowhere, a little place called Colville, Washington. It's about 70 miles north of Spokane. It's like the super religious town with all these churches, and on top of this giant mountain behind the town is a huge cross. It was, I don't know, anyone who basically isn't white, Christian, and heterosexual had no place being in that town, because they did their best to let you know that you weren't welcome. Not everybody. I will tell you that. Not everybody. I had a few really good friends there, really supportive of me before and after I came out. And to this day, actually, we still talk. There are people that I talk to from our hometown that I had no idea were cool with me or whatever, or even knew who I was. I mean, while it was a small town, and you think, yeah, everybody knows each other, and I know who they were, I didn't realize that they knew who I was, and those of you who are watching this, who are those people, you know what I mean. Anyway, because I just did my best to be myself as best as I could, but it was really hard. I couldn't, of course, date anyone until after high school. And that was kind of a mess. Because, your first person that you're with, it's a mess. Anyway, going back, rewinding. Sorry, I go on tangents. I actually had a journal that I thought I had hidden well. And before I learned to write in other languages, so my siblings wouldn't read them, I just wrote things in English. And I had a sister. No, she passed away a few years ago. But apparently, my senior year, she decided that she wanted to go through my things. I don't know why, but she did. And she found my journal. And she copied it off, every page, and passed it throughout our hometown. Now, I don't know who all read what, but there was a lot of just regular ramblings, teenage angst. I hate this thing. I hate this person. Why do I have to go through this? I can't wait to get out of this town. And then there was the I have a crush on this guy. And these are the things that I wish I could do to this guy because I heard about it. And I didn't really know the mechanics. I just knew that's what I wanted to do to certain guys. Not naming names because that's in the past and I no longer have any attraction towards those guys whatsoever. My tastes have seriously changed over the years. Not men to women, but just my taste in men. So, anyway, so when that happened, I had, I'm trying to make it so that light of the kitchen sink isn't blinding people. I had, like I said, an abusive dad, and he found out, and I literally got thrown out of the house. Like, picked me up, and out the door I went. And, yeah, he was not at all supportive for years. I mean, it took forever for that man to even remotely accept me for who I was. And he's gone now, too, so that's about as much as I can say about that one. But anyway, so I came out, and then I was staying at one friend's after another, and I wasn't actually fully out, because not everybody knew or acknowledged or even knew. Because I didn't write at the top of every page, like, this is the journal of Tom Gould. But, those who knew where it came from knew. And then there's people who just got rid of it because they didn't like, whatever, this is drama or whatever. And I didn't hear about those. But at the same time, I was going to raves in Spokane with my friends Prairie and Jerry. And yes, that was funny because Prairie is my ex-girlfriend from back in junior high school. And she would tell people, I'm going to raves with Tom and Jerry. And people were like, no, you're not. And she actually was going to raves with Tom and Jerry in Spokane. And it was fun. And then I experienced dancing in the middle of groups of guys and girls and stuff. And, I had guys dancing with me. And I was perfectly fine with that. And I was seeing that it was okay to be more, around these people that are like me. And I was starting to feel liberated. And of course, at the time, I was also, the king of thrift stores and exploring my wardrobe attire, we'll say, because I went and found the most outlandish, oddest looking clothes and decided to wear them. And I also wore eyeliner. And at one point, I actually I had my nails grown out long, and I trimmed them into points. So I don't know, I was being stupid. That lasted all of like a couple days, and then I'm like, no, fuck this. Because they kept breaking, my nails weren't strong enough, and I was already getting harassed by a lot of people. So, yeah, at one point I was like with my friends in the cafeteria in high school. I believe it was Jero and Jules. And we were hanging out, just eating, and these idiots, I don't even remember their names, came up to me, and they're like, are you going to get a sex change? I'm like, I don't know, are you going to get a lobotomy? And of course, my friends who knew what that word meant laughed, and he attacked me, and he scratched my face and stuff. I'm like, now who needs a sex change, And of course, the teachers stopped us and asked what was going on, and he's like, well, yes. And I told him, he asked if I was going to get a sex change. And he's like, well, then he asked if I was going to get a lobotomy. And then the teacher was like, do you even know what a lobotomy is? And he's like, no. He goes, maybe you do need one. And of course, my friends were laughing about this because, I outsmarted this guy. And, because everyone knew I was a reader. And, if someone is arguing Shakespeare interpretations with their English instructor in 7th grade, you don't want to get into a battle of wits with them in high school, because he's had 6 years since then to brush up on his vocabulary. So, I mean, It's only going to get worse from you from that point on, okay? So anyway, so that happened. It was funny. I did get in trouble, of course, because I was instigating stuff. Because, I had the eyeliner on, and I did tell a couple people that I was bi, because everyone who ends up coming out, if they don't flat out say they're gay, then the first knee-jerk reaction is the bi card. Because I had, over the years, a lot of different girlfriends, all the way up until the beginning of my senior year, apparently. My cousin Jamie will be able to remember her name. I always forget it. She was some tall blonde girl with a bodysuit and skin-tight jeans and cowboy boots who liked to kick guys in the balls. And my thing is, at the end of every school year, I would take off and do the barter fair thing. So you don't see me for 3 months. And she and I started dating at the end of my junior year, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you later. I'm going off here. And, 3 months go by, and you think, if I don't see him for 3 months, we're not dating. And apparently, she was telling everyone we were still dating, and I'm like, oh, crap, I've got to break up with her. So, when I first saw her, my senior year, all I could do was scream and run, because I wasn't going to sit there and get kicked in the balls. So, I want to break up. Bam. Ah! So, I just cut out all the pain and all that other fun stuff, went the seriously immature route, screamed and ran. And my cousin was like, yeah, my cousin doesn't want to go out with you anymore. Anyway, so that was my last girlfriend. I'm all over the place with this story, but oh well, you guys will probably find it humorous. So the word was getting around at that point, between my journal, my family, me couch surfing at various people's, even a teacher assistant type person who ended up marrying my friend right after high school, but they're now divorced. And so anyway, so that's their story, that's their business. But I was staying on his couch for a while, and I don't know. There was a lot of rumors going around. It's a small town. It happens everywhere. Every single small town in the world, at one point or another, is going to have some kind of weird rumor, especially around the weird kid, the gay kid. And I was an artist to boot, so I was always drawing or writing or doing something weird. And I always had some, art supplies sticking out of every pocket, and a big old backpack full of, art pads and stuff, or an art pad on my arm, or a book in my hands. And I was very cerebral my senior year. And I tried being introverted, but it didn't work out, because senior year, a lot of my classmates were like, hey, let's get to know Tom. And I'm like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from, but I think they're all like, this was a missed opportunity. And, I look at it now, and I think that a lot of what we did, a lot of what everyone does, is a missed opportunity. When you're growing up and you have all these people around you, and it's the same people for the most part for 18 years, right? If you didn't make friends with them when you're younger, you didn't hang out with these people, for some weird reason you had cliques. And I'll tell you now, cliques are one of the dumbest things on the face of the earth. Because you'll have people who are cowboys, or hippies, or stoners, or, emo, or grunge, or whatever you want to, Wiccan, or whatever. Odds are, you're going to have something in common with every single one of those people from all these other groups, which is what I found out my senior year. Not the gay thing, but we had a lot of other things in common. And yeah, it was really interesting. Like, a lot of people didn't realize that while I was very cerebral, I read books all the time, and I did my art projects and all that fun stuff. I also have kind of a learning disability in a way. Sometimes when things are too complex, my mind just jumbles it. Or, of course, I also have my seizures that I go into, which is like hitting a pause button on me, which are always fun and embarrassing, especially when you're having them in the middle of public, and then you come out of one and you have this audience. Anyway, so senior year, so my journal was being passed around. I was, wearing the eyeliner, being stupid. I was in health class, and there's those guys that always brag about the girl that they had the other night or whatever, and then you hear from the other side of the room, the girl's like, yeah, and you were bad too, kind of thing. And I'm just being quiet. I'm just drawing away. And then, of course, they go, what about you, Tom? And I'm like, oh, I'm a virgin. And then they all stop, and really? And then my health teacher is all smiling away, like, cat they ate the canary. And they're like, why? I go, I'm not ready yet. And, of course, she gets even more prouder, and I don't know, but like, you think about one of those birds that, like a peacock, whatever, they're displaying all their colors, like, I finally sank in, one of my students is admitting that he's not ready, kind of thing. And in actuality, it's just, I didn't have any guys to screw around with. But I wasn't going to tell people that. So, of course, people automatically go, ooh, ah. And then I'm getting all these people wanting to get to know me even more, because I'm there. I don't know. I didn't really talk a lot. I talked a lot with my friends, but not a lot in general to like most people. Not like this video. Anyway, so people were getting to know me that year, and of course they were wanting to see my artwork and my pads that I rarely showed people. I just kept drawing and drawing and drawing. And eventually, my art pads were being passed around the class or shown in front of classes and stuff. And, it was just, I didn't have that kind of experience before, so I didn't realize that I was that interesting. Anyway, so eventually, of course, word gets out. And we had this subject about, like, what was it? It was, I believe it was our English class, where we had to take stories out of Newsweek and write a report about them. And of course, this was 1995, 1996, and we didn't have gay marriage. We were still up in the middle of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We had a lot of those, places that it was still really bad. I mean, it's kind of bad in some places now, but we've come a long way. But there was a lot of places where you would get killed if you came out. And I was afraid of that. But, I thought, okay, I have enough people here that I can actually do this. So I saw this story in Newsweek about gay weddings. And I did a report on one. And, of course, most people, they would have to explain why they were so passionate about this particular story that they wrote about. Only one person asked, why is this so important for you? And I had to tell her, well, I have gay friends. But no one else wanted to, say, he's obviously coming out to us, but you had to do that. Anyway, oops, sorry, I just jostled it. So eventually, of course, I come out because of all those different things, and then I had one of the head, I don't know, I guess he was like an assistant principal or something. He was a PE teacher. It's real douchebag, Paul Dumas, and I don't care if he sees this or not, and I don't care if people tell him, because he did a real dick move. This was one of those guys who was like an alpha male, and anyone who didn't fit in with what he thought was like appropriate was automatically called a slacker, and he gave shit every single time he saw them. And he pulled me aside on my way to class one day, and he told me that I needed to change or leave. And at that point, I had already got slammed against the locker several times that day, tripped, My books were knocked out of my hands. You know, guys were being just total fucking dicks. And I had had enough. And so I go, well, that's all I needed to hear. So I grabbed my stuff, my personal stuff, went over to the art room, and the art instructor, she saw that I came in, and I'm normally not in that for another hour, and I was just fuming. And she asked me what was going on, and I told her what he had just said. And she's like, well, maybe you could, you know, kind of, I don't know, tone it down a little or whatever, but, you know, keep the peace, you know, try to meet them halfway. And I'm like, no. And so I just grabbed all my stuff out of the art room, and I left. And this is while I was still staying at my friend's house, and I ended up, you know, right afterwards signing up for taking my GED, getting my GED. So I didn't get to graduate, of course. But my classmates didn't care because I still was invited and went to my 10-year reunion. Anyway, so that's a whole other story. But anyway, so I came out. And then I ended up finding out later on that a guy who was a year younger than me was gay as well. And he asked me out, and, you know, I'm not going into that story, but we did, you know, we were together for a little bit. It didn't work out. You know, your first one rarely, if ever, does. That happens. And it didn't work out for us, but that's okay. I mean, we're friends now. I guess friends in social media. No ill will towards them. And I'm assuming the same goes for him. And yeah, you know, looks like, I think he's married and happy, and, you know, good on him. So yay for that. There's a happy ending. For him, anyway. So, yeah. So that's, I guess, in essentially my coming out story, and then I ended up moving to Spokane, and there's all these other things happen. And if you want to know more, you know, chat me up, leave a message or note at the bottom, or you can message me, because I think all, if not most of my subscribers are actually friends of mine on Facebook. So if you want to know anything more, curious about me doing a little video about anything else, any other topics, you know I'm opinionated. And yeah, there you go. Okay, well, there's my story, as abbreviated as it possibly can be, almost 30 minutes long. Hopefully I didn't bore you, because I did bounce around here and there. But those stories are important to get out there, because somewhere, whoever may, or whenever someone may see this, because I make these all public, someone may have, or may be going through a similar experience to what I went through. Or at least take something out of this and go, he had all of these bad things happen to him. However, he also had all these good things happen to him. And right now he's happy. He's got a lot of friends. He's had, we'll say, a few boyfriends here and there. Got engaged once, didn't work out. That was a nightmare, but hoping to again someday. You know, I'd like to, you know, tie the knot eventually if I happen to find the one or whatever. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, someone will at least know that even though life can deal you a whole lot of shit all at once, it seems sometimes it's almost overwhelming. But in the end all be all, I mean, you still have, eventually you'll find people that you click with. You'll find people that will accept you and love you and bring you into their lives and encourage you to be you, encourage you to do whatever it is that drives you, whatever it is that makes you you. Even if you think that you're gay or bi or whatever, or even if you think that you're one gender and then you turn out to be another. Who knows? Someone out there is going to realize it then, life does get better. And hopefully, this, does some kind of good for somebody down the line. I know that hearing stories like this before from other people helped me. I went to a youth group called Odyssey in Spokane shortly after I left Colville, and that helped me a lot because I felt like I had nobody left in the world. And then I walked into those doors and I was surrounded by all these different kinds of people. I guess Technicolor is how I could put it, because there were people from every spectrum in this group, and they were ready to invite me in, accept me for being me, and we all realized that we're all just trying to get through it all, trying to get through life. And again, I made a lot of great friends that I'm still friends with to this day. And I'm 42 now. I was 18 then, 19, whatever, those times. And I can still say that I look back on that and I can appreciate all those people that have helped me around, over the years. Like, if they weren't even there physically, they were there emotionally. Like my friend Helena, and my friend Billy, and Shauna, and I don't know, just all kinds of people. Like, there's a huge list. I mean, even people that I grew up with that I'm communicate with nowadays on a somewhat regular basis, like Stacy and Tanya, and then I have this other friend named Tanya. I don't know, Tanya's a common name. I don't know. There's so many people that I knew for years that just really helped me, and sometimes they help me now without even realizing it. And like, I can look at their posts and their videos that they do, and I can see that, while I may be going through a lot of stuff, like everybody is, especially now with this whole COVID-19 thing, there's all these other things to look forward to. There's all this other stuff that you can enjoy out of life that makes life so much worthwhile. And yeah, I mean, sure, you're going to have, some people that you don't get along with, and sure, there's going to be some nastiness out there, but in the end, all be all, you get more good out of life than not. I guess that's that. All right. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching, and I guess we'll talk later. Bye.